A major announcement by the U.S. Attorney for North Georgia as a financial advisor pleads guilty to a massive multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme. Fox 5's Eric Perry breaks down the details.
It's being called one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in the state of Georgia. The 54-year-old accused of stealing over $380 million. And with over 2,000 victims, they're afraid there could be even more. A major win for the Department of Justice and FBI.
Burkhalter defrauded more than 2,000 people out of approximately $380 million.
Wednesday, 54-year-old Todd Burkhalter, the founder and CEO of Alpharetta-based financial advisory group Drive Planning, pleaded guilty to wire fraud. Investigators say he was the mastermind in a Ponzi scheme that dates back to 2020.
Todd Burkhalter and the leaders of his company, Drive Planning, betrayed the trust of clients, family, and friends by encouraging them to make investments in bogus opportunities using their retirement accounts and their hard-earned savings.
Burkhalter used large amounts of investor money to pay for personal expenditures, including $2 million to purchase a yacht, $2.1 million as part of the purchase of a luxury condo in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, $800,000 on multiple luxury vehicles, millions of dollars on luxury travel, including chartering private jets, and $320,000 on clothing, jewelry, and beauty treatments.
Former Chief Operating Officer David Bradford pleaded guilty to wire fraud back in December. He's set to be sentenced in March. It's believed there could be other victims who have yet to come forward.
Okay, so, schemes and scams are at an all-time high these days, especially with everything being electronic. This one right here is, one of probably the oldest Ponzi schemes in the book, as far as enticing people to give you their hard-earned money in order to, make investments for them. So, you're dressing yourself up as like a financial advisor, someone who's going to help people put their money in the right places in order for them to make a return. And Ponzi schemes, as I'm reading here, they date back to the 1860s, in Germany, from who's this? Spitzeder. It looks like Adele Spitzeder in Germany, and Sarah Howe in the U.S. So get investors with money to give you their money, and they trust you to make investments for them and try to essentially flip that money or grow that money. And then of course Charles Ponzi gave his name. His name was used in the 1920s to describe this the scheme. So yeah, I mean, we've seen plenty of Ponzi schemes here in the US, over the course of several years, and you just have to be careful with who you trust your money with. And it's going to be someone who obviously seem like they have it all together, that they're very knowledgeable as far as what they're trying to do. And they like to take advantage of people who they have a certain set amount of money, but they maybe feel like that amount of money will not last them through the rest of their life. So they want to get into like investments and things of that nature. They just don't have the knowledge and the know-how, and so they're going to trust people to do that, flip their money essentially. But as you see, once they get their hands on this money, they go and buy $1 million yachts, $1 million homes in Mexico, or spending on vacations, other material items like clothing and fine dining. So this is something that really happens a lot. And $380 million Ponzi scheme, he was getting money from people hand over fist. And so once they get their first few clients or victims, it becomes clockwork to them at that point, and they just continue to do it. So you have to be very wary or very aware of people who come to you and ask you to give them all your life savings in order to grow that money or increase that money for you. You know, your best bet if you want to do something like that is to actually take the time to learn, you know, about investing or about, you know, putting your money into certain stocks and bonds or stuff like that on your own before you even trust anyone to do it. And, you know, not saying that there's not any, you know, legit small businesses who help people with this, but you know, you have to do your research before you actually give your money over to people. Vet them out. Um, and if it's unsolicited, like if it's an unsolicited offer where they come and solicit you, you know, high percentage that they're going to do something malicious with your money. I mean, you know, it's terrible to say, but that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to this whole thing. And you know, you're gonna hear plenty stories now and going forward of people who are going to trust these people with their money, and they end up taking that money and never really, you know, fulfilling the promises that they give you initially on you getting a return. And you know, more than likely, you're never going to see your money again because that money is spent. You know, like they were saying, you know, maybe more victims out there who just haven't come forward yet, but again, you're more than likely you'll never ever see that money again.
But what Mr. Burkhalter will soon find out is that if you use stolen money to pay for such a home, you should expect your next vacation to be an all expenses paid trip to federal prison.
Unfortunately, investigators don't believe the victims will be able to recoup any of the funds that they invested, and they do believe there are more out there. So if you might have been involved or taken advantage in this, you're encouraged to come forward to investigators. Outside the Atlanta headquarters of the FBI office, I'm Eric Perry, Fox 5 News.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like the fallout of this is like, you know, families being split up, you know, maybe one person in the family knew of this and the other didn't, so they have to now explain to the other, you know, to their partner, wife, husband, you know, that now I done lost a lot of money in this whole scheme. And again, you know, a lot of these people have like similar traits or similar personality traits and things like that. They may have a background in like sales or have read books on like, you know, people's psychology and you know how to speak effectively, speak confidently, how to get people to say yes and not say no. You know, all those type of tactics, you know, can be used on people. And again, you know, a lot of people are just very unsuspecting. A lot of people do have the excess money to really throw around and stuff like this. And even though they may have a gut feeling that it may not be good, you know, they still, you know, want to risk it or try it because, you know, they want to increase the money that they do have. They want to increase their net worth. And you just have to be very, very careful. You know, that's just the bottom line to this whole story. You just have to be very careful. And again, if it's unsolicited, don't even go forward with it. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is out of Georgia, and of like I believe it's Ponzi schemes going on all across the country. You know, definitely all across the world, but you know, definitely all across the country. So I mean, you may be in a Ponzi scheme right now and just not even know it. So be wary. Vet out these financial advisors or people who's offering investment help and saying that they can double, triple, 10x your money and all kind of stuff like that. Just be very, very wary and make sure you educate yourself. That's the best thing you can do when you have you know, expendable funds to throw into investing and stuff like that. But again, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole scheme, and if you've been involved in the scheme. You know, I would love to hear comments on that. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.